And we're joined on Absolutely Famous today by our regular rugby analyst, former Marlborough and King Country loose forward Greg Brimble. And we'll be discussing two very contrasting performances on Saturday by the All Blacks, who just snuck home against a pretty good Japan side, 38-31 in Tokyo, and the Black Ferns, who were superb in crushing Wales 55-3 in the Women's Rugby World Cup quarterfinal in Whangarei. And Greg Brimble from the beautiful town of Nowra in New South Wales. How's things, mate?
Yeah, going good, going really good, Johnny. I'm glad the rugby season's still with us. I'm still getting my fix, and we've still got a few weeks of it to go yet. So yeah, and enjoying it, mate, and enjoyed the most of the rugby on the weekend.
Yeah.
Most of it I wasn't that keen on, but yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah, there's a watching the Black Ferns. You know, you can, unlike the All Blacks at times, you can tell exactly what they're trying to achieve, how they're trying to play, and I've just noticed very distinctively every game they play, they just get better. And I think Wayne Smith's got pretty close to his top side on the park.
Yeah, well, that was a really impressive effort by the Black Ferns against Wales on the weekend in their quarter final, and easily their best performance of this tournament and their best performance for a number of years. And you can see them improving with every game, can't you, John? There's little things in their game, the freedom with which they're playing as well. And just to see those girls do it with the smiles on their faces. I mean, they must have a fantastic culture in that squad, and that environment which they've cultured is just looks fantastic, doesn't it? And when you're enjoying your work, you're that much more productive. You when you feel like you've got ownership, you know, it's all of those things are coming through in that side, and like I say, to see them enjoying it like they are, it just, man, I'm just in love with it. I tell you, I love every minute of it, and after watching the All Blacks against Japan, we'll talk about that more later, but that was just so refreshing to see. To see the girls and their performance, and you know, a great win over Wales, and a much improved performance over the last time they played Wales as well in the pool play.
Yeah, well, they've stopped dropping the ball. That's the big change that's happened. And the other thing, I loved a comment from that magnificent halfback, Kendra Coxedge. She said it's pretty hard for teams to analyse us, because she said it's just chaos out there. We just play what's in front of us. How good's that?
Well, that comes from confidence as well, doesn't it, John? And when you've got confidence within your squad and a good culture, there's a belief in each other, so you can afford to play a little bit more offhand and a bit more on impulse than what you normally would in you know, playing a structured style of rugby. And when the forwards are performing like they did perform against Wales, it allows that quick ball for people like Kendra Coxedge and Ruhe Demant and that to start playing it wide, and they start playing with a bit of width, and they bring players in from deep, and they create opportunities out wide, don't they? And the handling was much better. The support play was really, really good, and there's genuine pace on the outsides there, isn't there, with Ruby Tui and the likes of Portia Woodman. I mean, there's great speed there and confidence and great handling, and it's just so refreshing to see, John.
It's brilliant. But the big take I got out of it was the performance of the forwards, in particular. A couple of the Canterbury props there, Amy Rule and Philippa Love, they were fantastic. They were just, you know, they led the way for me, and they weren't the only ones. The whole forward pack played well. Sarah Harini at 7 had a blinder too. The replacement hooker, Luca Connor, got a couple of tries, and I think that's where, if the Black Ferns can at least match France and England in that area, I don't think those other two teams have got anywhere near the backline firepower that we have.
Yeah, and I think you're right too, John. And let's be honest, the forward pack up until the quarterfinal stage hadn't been as dominant as we'd hoped they would have been. Certainly, the likes of Wales and Scotland, um, I think, were equal with them in the forwards and the set pieces. But that was a really, really big step up, especially from the tight five in that game. And you look at those, you go through the names in that four pack. Mate, I tell you what, 3 weeks ago, I reckon I could have named three or four of those players off the top of my head. I was lying in bed the other night after that game. I could rattle off the whole 15 and most of the reserves.
Yeah.
You know, it was just amazing. I mean, and you mentioned some names there, and I've got to repeat them because I'm in love with these women. You know, Pip Love and Amy Rule. I mean, they've just been outstanding. Georgia Ponsonby. I mean, she's a fantastic player. She may have a bit of pressure on her. Luca Connor came on and scored 2 tries as the replacement hooker. So if there's change in that starting four packs, perhaps it's that hooker. I'm not sure, but you know, Maya Roos and Chelsea Bremner. Well, isn't Chelsea Bremner? She's like the Sam Whitelock of that pack, and she's just grown with every game. Alana Bremner, her sister on the blindside flank, she had her best game of the tournament. She's proved her worth. Probably needs to be a bit more physical at the breakdown, but her fitness and her athleticism around the field, I think, was there for all to see. And Sarah Harini, she is the one person in that game against Wales, the quarterfinal, who really stepped up for me. I thought she was fantastic. I had doubts about her physicality and her ability to make an impression on the game, but that was easily Sarah Harini's best game as well. And you look at some of these sevens players, they're really shining through, aren't they, in the 15s version? And you know, that was Harini she was unbelievable. She was everywhere and scored that try. I mean, she's not a big physical person either. She hasn't got that size of Alana Bremner or Chelsea Bremner, but what she brings in strength and determination, and that try that she scored, that was just determination and strength, wasn't it? I mean, fantastic play and a really, really big step up from the forwards there, and good to see too.
Yeah, I think Wayne Smith's got a hell of a choice to make before this weekend's game against France, because Kennedy Simon, the co-captain, is back. She's a fairly brutal operator in the number 7 position, so it's out of her and Harini who gets the start, and that no doubt he'll lie awake at night, as he's probably done most of the tournament, scratching his head, and which one do I go for?
Well, I think, you know, he may play them both, not at the same time, but certainly bringing one off the bench as an impact player, and you might look at bringing Kennedy Simon in earlier than she was brought on against Wales, or vice versa. Maybe Sarah Harini's the one to come on with 30 minutes to go, and because she's got out and out pace as well, and her fitness from the sevens program is outstanding. So yeah, there's some big decisions there, but I think they're getting pretty close to their top 15 there at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And one lady who's really stepped up is the midfielder, Teresa Fitzpatrick. She was probably a bit of a fringe selection in the top side early in the tournament, but she just made every post a winner, keeping Amy Duplessis out, who's also a star. And I think Fitzpatrick has been wonderful.
Well, I hadn't heard a lot about Teresa Fitzpatrick prior to this tournament, but she's been really good. She had her best game on Saturday, and she was physical, and her combination with Stacey Fluhler at centre, that midfield combination, they are outstanding. And Stacey Fluhler, what an athlete she is! You know, another one out of the sevens program, and she combines so well with Portia Woodman and Ruby Tui as well. There's that understanding that they've been playing rugby together for so long. There's this mental telepathy. They just know where they're going to be. They're instinctive in terms of support and where they think the play is going to be, or what the next play is, where it's heading, or and their ability to get up in support, I think's been really telling too. And the other part of the midfield selection that I don't think's given enough credit is their defence as well. Teresa
Fitzpatrick,
Fitzpatrick, she can hit them like anybody can, as hard as any man, and Stacey Fluger as well. So they're pretty settled in the midfield there. Ruahei probably didn't have the best game that she's had. Her kicking was better, but her all-round play, she would have been slightly disappointed, I think, with that game. But she's a good leader and a captain of the side as well. So we'll see how she goes. But yeah.
Yeah, one thing she did do well, she took over the goal kick and did a good job of that. But I'll see, France were pretty impressive in downing Italy 39-3, but I get the feeling that the Frogs are in for a bit of a fright when they take on the Ferns at Eden Park in front of hopefully another packed crowd, because this is a very much totally different Black Ferns side than France beat quite easily last year.
Yeah, well, Italy, I suppose, didn't put up as much of a fight as they'd hoped. France gave us a good old flogging, good old lesson last year after England had dealt to us. But I'm with you. I'm with you too, John. I think there's level of confidence in this Black Ferns team at the moment, which is I think is going to be the difference. And when you're playing with that freedom and that confidence, and you're enjoying it like you are, I think, and at Eden Park as well in front of a full house. Yeah, we've had too much pain in the past from the French and World Cup.
Yeah.
We don't need any more. I still have nightmares about that forward pass and that ref didn't pick it up there against France. And mate, we can't let France beat us again in a World Cup elimination game. It's just not allowed.
And please don't underestimate them, because
exactly.
When they turn up, you just never know what they're going to give you. But they're looking at the other matches. England basically hid the ball up their jumper for 80 minutes and got a 39-5 win over Australia in atrociously wet conditions. But the England forwards in those conditions suited them down to earth, really.
Well, I think we're all looking forward to an England and Black Ferns final, and we need to get past France first, obviously, this weekend. But wouldn't that be great to be playing the Poms at Eden Park in front of a full house in a Rugby World Cup final? In two contrasting styles as well. The English Roses like to keep it tight. They've got a very, very strong forward pack. They've got a squad that they've assembled, and they've been around for a long time. They're an experienced outfit. They haven't been beaten for a number of games now, and their forward-based game against the freedom and the spirit that the Black Ferns would bring, the two contrasting styles, would be a really interesting game, and you'd hope that we would get a dry track for that. But let's not talk about that until we've got France out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's dead right, because France, they are genuine contenders, no question about that. And wonderful to see the big crowds up in Whangarei supporting the Black Ferns. I think the whole country's just got behind them, Brims, just fallen in love with them, like we have.
They have. like I was saying, yeah, me primarily. Like I was saying before, they're household names now, and I look forward to the weekends now so I can watch the Black Ferns play. It's just wonderful. It's wonderful for the game. It's wonderful for women's sport in New Zealand and around the world and in general. And we've been due this for a while, and we wish them all the best as they carry on through this tournament. Hopefully past the weekend. But it's just a wonderful occasion and really enjoyable, John.
It is too, yeah. Congratulations to the Black Ferns so far. Long may it continue. Well, Brims, we had the All Blacks, the men's team, of course. They'll be pretty relieved that they managed to edge out Japan 38-31 with a late penalty from Richie Mo'unga, but it was certainly a lacklustre game and the dreaded aimless kicking return.
Well, that was it, wasn't it? I mean, look. Firstly, there was a number of changes in that side. New Zealand traditionally doesn't perform well in the first game of a series or the first game of a tour. So it's probably good to get that bad game out of the way before we face Wales, I think, next weekend.
Yeah.
Now we had a new midfield combination of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Braden Ennor in the centres, which didn't impress me at all, and some changes in the forward pack as the Barrett brothers were unavailable, Sam Whitelock was unavailable, so there was a lot of changes there. Stephen Perifetta at fullback, and I was really happy for him to see him get some game time, and he didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything great, but didn't do anything wrong either. So it was, I wasn't expecting a great performance from the All Blacks against Japan, but I was expecting a better one than that. And good old Jamie Joseph, the Blenheim boy, he's taken that Japanese, the Brave Blossoms, to some very notable wins in the past, primarily over Ireland, Scotland, and their famous victory over the South Africans at the last World Cup. So he was always going to have something up his sleeve. Him and Tony Brown combined together were always going to have something planned for the All Blacks, and it very nearly came off too, didn't it? And we gave away, I think it was a 24-3 lead or 24-3 lead, I think, in the first half to be taken within 4 points on a number of occasions in that game. And I got to say, it was pretty disappointing to watch, mate. And I think nobody would have been happy with that, least of all Ian Foster.
No, that's right, and I think Jamie Joseph was pretty frustrated too, because if Japan hadn't made so many handling errors, I think they would have won the game.
Well, the handling errors was huge. I'm just looking for the stats on it there, and I did have it before, but I mean, New Zealand had 2/3 of the possession and nearly 2/3 of the territory. So they should have done better with what they had. But what Japan do so well is they feed off those scraps, don't they? And they're a very fit side, and they're a very, very disciplined side. And they like to pressure the opposition into making mistakes. That's how they beat the Springboks. They put the pressure on, pressure them into making mistakes, pressure them into making hasty decisions. And when the opposition underestimates you, like teams tend to do against Japan, and you're not prepared for it, pressure comes on, all of a sudden that physical pressure on the field turns into scoreboard pressure, then you've got double the pressure, and it's like, what are we going to do? And I mean, another 5 minutes, we probably would have lost that game. But I mean, as they said, a win's a win. But I don't think too many players did themselves too many favours in that game. And I'm going to read some of the player rankings that they put out, and they rated Roger Tuivasa-Sheck as just about the best player of the All Blacks or on the field. I couldn't disagree with that more. It was. I think Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is very one-dimensional. And he's a fantastic footballer. He's a fantastic league player. But driving home tonight, I was thinking, if there's a spot for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I'd like to see him play. I would like to see him play fullback for the All Black 15 and see how he goes there, because I think he would offer more to the game coming in from fullback, and that's the position he played for the Kiwis and for the Warriors. I'd like to see him there, but he's too one-dimensional in the midfield for me.
My problem with Roger is I agree with you, fantastic footballer, league player, but he's coming over the top of better rugby players, and Alex Nankerville to me is the man who should have been the other guy picked there on the back of two outstanding Super 12, Super Rugby, seasons.
Yeah, I agree. Alex Nankerville. I mean, he's a wonderful player, but Levi Moore as well. And I've spoken about him before when we've had these chats. He's a proper midfielder. You're taking a bloke, transitioning a bloke from league to union, albeit he did play union in the past, but transitioning a bloke back into the game at an international level is hard enough. It's even harder when you're playing him out of position, and I think we are playing him out of position. So I'd give up on that experiment, and I think I'd be looking at our alternatives there, and we're going to have some players back fit again. Anton Leonard-Brown was really good when he came on against Japan. He was the bloke we needed in there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring against those Northern Hemisphere sides as well on the rest of the tour.
Yeah, couple of tour-ending injuries. Sam Cane with a double fracture of the cheekbone, and Dane Coles with the old calf's gone again. In reality, Brims, I know this sounds harsh, and both their lots of parents will hate me, but it's a blessing in disguise for the All Blacks because they're both well past it as All Blacks. And if that wasn't obvious to the selectors on Saturday night, then they were watching a different game than I was.
Yeah, and I agree. Dane Coles has been a wonderful contributor to New Zealand rugby, but he shouldn't be in our top 23 at the moment. I don't believe. I don't think he's worthy of that position. And no disrespect to him, I just think he's passing. You just run out of gas, or people overtake you in the pecking order, and that's what's happened there. And the thing with Sam Cane is, Sam Cane as a captain forces two really important things. It means he has to play in his position. All right. So if you're named as captain of the All Blacks, you're the best in the team. You're the best leader in the team, and your best player in that position in the country. You're supposed to be. All right. So if Sam Cane is captain, he has to play, and he has to play 7. So that's one thing that's forced on you. The other thing that forces is it forces Ardie Savea, who is our best player and best number 7 in the country, to play out of position at number 8. Now, I agree with you. In a way, as harsh as it sounds, it is a blessing in disguise because it now forces Ian Foster's hand to think differently on our loose forward makeup. So I would like to see Ardie Savea go to the open side flank and give him 3 games in a row there against Northern Hemisphere opposition. That's what I'd like to see, and then we can play around with the balance of that loose forward trio because Hoskins Satutu actually wasn't too bad in that game against Japan. He handled the ball a lot of times, made some good carries, and was very busy and industrious. I don't know if he's a long-term option, permanent number 8. It doesn't know if he brings that level of physicality, but he was really busy. So yeah, it's going to force a change of thinking, isn't it? And really great to see Billy Harmon sent there as the replacement for Sam Cane. Because as I've said when we've been talking before, I rate Billy Harmon very highly. The ex-Crusaders and now Highlanders captain. He's a fantastic out-and-out number 7, and he gets the nod over Karifi Duplessis, the Wellington captain. So great to see Billy Harmon there. I hope he gets a run in the number 7 jersey, and he might get one against, say, Scotland or something. John, that'd be great to see.
Yeah, well, I look to our number 7s. I look at the Japanese number 7, Kazuki Himeno, magnificent player. our number 7 needs to be a magnificent player, just like every other country's one is, like Ireland's one is, like France, like Australia with Michael Hooper coming back. Why have we got the dud?
Well, might be a bit harsh, John, but yeah, you're right. And Sam Cane is, as we said before, as good a bloke as he is, he'd love to have a few schooners with him, and he'd be a really good top bloke, no doubt about it. But he's not having the impact on the games, and more importantly, he's not being that leader that we need at the moment. And I know Keith Quinn made some telling comments on the weekend about that as well. And you know, nobody would know better than Keith Quinn. He's been around for a long time, whether you love him or hate him. But
he's a great man.
He made comments the same, and yeah, he's not. He's as Keith Quinn said, your captain's got to be a bloke that everybody wants to follow. And he used Creef du Plessis, the Wellington number 7, as an example. He said he's a bloke that just plays out of his skin, and you just have guys just want to get on behind him. They want to get on that. They want to get on that bus. They want to put their bodies on the line. And I don't know if Sam Cane has that same effect as someone like Ardie Savea would, because he's the sort of player that you want to follow. He's the one that really leads by example. So yeah. We'll see what happens, but could this be the end of Sam Cane? I don't think it probably is. But let me tell you now, if some of these guys stick their hand up in these next 3 games, they'll be putting a lot of pressure on Sam Cane to retain his position as the number 7 and as the captain.
Yeah, I just hope the selectors bring in their peripheral vision and aren't just stuck on these certain players they seem to like and some they don't like. Brodie Retallick probably out for the tour. Stupid, clumsy, poor technique charge into a ruck there with his shoulder into someone's head.
Yeah, well, it was just poor technique, wasn't it? I don't think there was any malice or anything in it, but he he didn't get that arm up, which made him look like he was cleaning out with his shoulder and attacking the opposition player's head. I don't think that's from Brodie Retallick's game. It's in people like Barkey's Borta. That's a head game. It's not Brodie Retallick's game. You know, he just that was an error that he made, and it's sad to see that. But I tell you what, going back to the woman, there was a very, very similar clean out in that women's game. And the Welsh, I just don't forget who it was, but the Welsh player got sin bin, got a yellow for an identical clean out. And we've spoken about the standard refereeing at the Women's Rugby World Cup, how good it is. That's what I like to see. But it's unfortunate, but he's gone. But that opens the gate, I suppose. I expect Scott Barrett will partner Sam Whitelock, having spent a lot of time together in the Canterbury and Crusaders setup. He'd be the logical choice unless they want to keep persevering with him at blindside. But you've still got Patrick Tupulotu and Tupuvai in there as well that can slot in. So it'd be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, I'd expect a much better performance from the All Blacks against Wales. It'll have to be. It'll be a much better team they put on the park, and I think the mindset will be better, and we haven't lost to the All Blacks since the year I was born, Brims. To Wales. The All Blacks haven't lost to that game since I was born, so hopefully that continues.
1953, I believe.
That's
You're
it.
giving your age or...
Yep. Been around a while.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to see that again, but the Wales, the Welsh team have come off a 2-1 series loss to the Springboks, but the test that they did win was a really good test, a really good win for them as well. The Welsh are as close as you can get to New Zealand for passion when it comes to rugby. I can tell you, I've been there. I've been to a Welsh game. I've been to Carter Farms Park in the crowd, and and I've spoken with Welsh supporters. I chatted with a lot of them, including Phil Bennett, and I had a good chat to him when I was over there about New Zealand rugby, and he said, Phil Bennett said to me, he said, there's nowhere, boyo, there's nowhere like, New Zealand for the passion. He said they eat, they sleep, they drink, they breathe rugby. And let me tell you now, the Welsh are exactly the same, and they will be looking forward to this All Black game at Principality Stadium. They will be looking forward to this with relish, and there'll be a little bit of a sense of victory in the air for them. They'll be sniffing and smelling an opportunity here, and good on them. I hope they do too. And get up and give it a really good go. I hope they don't win, but let me tell you, they are going to be fired up for this game, and they sense an opportunity for a victory here.
Yep. Come on, the All Blacks. You can do it. We know they can. Brims, thanks for your expertise, mate. Always great to chat, and hope the caravan business is going well down there. The JK Nowra, they're running out the door, are they?
Still going great, mate. Still going great. Even the rain can't keep the customers away at the moment.
Good stuff. Thanks, mate. Beautiful.
Good on you.